Electricast.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Western demands.
Now this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you. I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or whatever movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris and I'm here with my older brother
Wesley.
Today we're talking a movie from 1990, the third of Wes's favorite trilogy. Is that right?
Yes, the 35th anniversary
of Back to the Future Part 3.
The third part of my favorite movie series.
They didn't jump the shark a little bit with Back to the Future Part 3?
No! It goes a completely different direction, and it's just fun. But it does require the framework of the first two movies to be in place. There's a lot of callbacks, and just how we get there is so plausible. I guess the Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis, writer-producer, were asking Michael J. Fox during the production of the first movie, before it was ever a sure thing, if you're time travel, where would you like to go? And he said, I've always wanted to be in a Western. I think going to the Old West would be great. And so they put that idea in their pocket, and once they figured out where to go with the series, they kind of took his advice because it's fun, because it's just awesome, and doesn't rely heavily on science or not necessarily, or the DeLorean.
That's true. The DeLorean really is an obstacle in so many ways in Back to the Future 3. Funny, it sounds like Doc Brown is basically echoing one of the Bob's sentiments about going back to the Wild West. Like 1955 Doc Brown is all nostalgic when he's reading about himself being in the Wild West. And he's thinking about watching cowboy movies and picturing himself all wistfully as a blacksmith in 1885.
It was his ideal scenario, I think. The only drawback is he didn't want to be stuck there.
Did he not? Because he said explicitly in his letter, do not come back to get me. He was happy. He was happy even before he met Clara.
Yep.
Clara, what's the ravine?
Clayton, the old Shonash ravine, later Eastwood ravine. A lot of names for this ravine.
They set everything up so well. The Jules Verne stuff, 20 Leagues Under the Sea, the ravine, the matter of $80.
Yeah.
Would you say that this is up there with the perfectness of Back to the Future Part 1?
In a different way. People loved the Kill Bill movies. Baby Seal, in particular, loved Kill Bill. He felt that Kill Bill Volume 1 was a perfect movie. And obviously Tarantino likes Japanese samurai movies. And then Kill Bill Volume 2 was almost completely different. And it was very much a revenge Western. And obviously there were modern elements, but he didn't like that one as much. And I thought it was great, just in its own respect, in a different way. And Back to the Future 3 is, today I think, if they hadn't made these movies 2 and 3 together, and the studio really saw how different those two movies were going to be, maybe they would have had more qualms. I'm not sure that if they had pitched 3 is going to be completely different. It's going to focus on Doc way more and less about Marty's family. We don't care about even Seamus and Maggie McFly. It's more about Doc and his love interest, and it's in the Wild West, and we only see the DeLorean at the top and the bottom of the film, and that's it. I'm not sure how on board they would have been.
What do you mean made Back to the Future 2 and 3 together?
So they filmed the first one when that was a runaway hit. They filmed 2 and 3 together, brought the production from the Universal lot in Part 2, and then moved it to Northern California like Railtown or something and shot part 3 while Bob Zemeckis was directing part 3. He would then get on a plane and fly to meet Bob Gale, and they would edit part 2 and oversee post and stuff, and he would fly back and forth. And they insisted that the 2 movies be released back to back within 6 months.
Was it a big deal for you that Back to the Future Part 2 came out in 1989 and then you got to see Part 3 less than a year later?
I have blind spots. I remember distinctly going to the theater repeatedly to see Back to the Future, and then I remember seeing Back to the Future 3 in the theaters. And yet for Part 2, I have no memory. I'm not 100% sure I saw Part 2 in the theater.
I mean, 89, you were already 13?
Yep. But I mean, I know Back to the Future by heart. I know Part 3 pretty darn close. Back to the Future 2 almost feels like a new movie every time I watch it.
Because it's just not, for whatever reason, it's not ingrained in your mind.
Sorry, it's a little bit gristly. It's a little bit connective tissue-y between these 2 awesome pillars. It's a sagging web in between.
Wow, so many people would disagree with you.
Absolutely. And while that one goes for it, like it really tries its best to be a completely different movie and to be way out there in terms of future predictions and stuff, this one feels good. It feels better. And not to say that it doesn't have its problems, because it does, but Part 3 just feels homey to me and comfortable and beloved.
Okay, so let's talk about Part 3's problems. But before we do, what is my favorite moment in Part 3?
Part 3, favorite moment. Is it...
Favorite performance moment.
If there's a favorite performance in this movie, how could it not be Buford Mad Dog Tannen? Is it at least Mad Dog?
What does he say? Dance, runt.
It's the saloon scene where he mistakes him for Seamus. You look like him, though, especially with that dog ugly hat. And then he said, you're Mad Dog Tannen, really upsets him. And nobody calls me Mad Dog, especially not some duded up, egg-sucking gutter trash. Dance! Come on, Runt, you can dance better than that.
And then you can hear Michael J. Fox under his breath, underneath the that he's doing, he's going, Billie Jean is not my lover.
Oh man. Such a great scene. To see Biff or to see Mad Dog, Tom Wilson, show up, and he looks so vastly different. We just saw him as Griff in Part 2, and to see him show up as Mad Dog it's not the same gang or whatever, but we have the peanut gallery. We have the 3 old dudes in the saloon laughing and talking trash, and the bartender and when the whiskey singes the bar top. Oh man, it's so good.
You must have taken that off of a dead Chinese.
Man, the legendary Pat Buttram.
Stop.
Sheriff
His
of
name
Nottingham.
is Buttram?
His name is Buttram. What do you want me to do?
Stop.
Look it up. Look, old timer in the saloon. Look him up.
Pat Buttram? I mean, that has to be among the most unfortunate of names. But you're wrong. What is my favorite? You get a second guess at what my favorite scene is. And I'll give you a hint. It's a Doc performance.
If it's mine, this is the scene where he shows up and hits the organ and plays the dramatic music in the best take. It's a very long take from when he leaves the organ and then says that you're not supposed to be here. It doesn't make sense for you to be here. I refuse to even believe that you are here. And he does that hair flip and slams the door. Amazing. And then Marty rushes to the door, explains how it makes sense that he's there. And you hear him rummage, and it's a very interesting story, Future Boys. Just one question. If the me of the future is now in the past, how could you possibly know about it? You sent me a letter. And he does that great double take on the letter, or the single take.
Yeah, well, Marty flicks it up,
right,
like perfectly in frame in this super aggressive, sharp flick, and then his eyeball just travels the length of his entire eye socket to the letter.
God, it's such a perfect take, and it's so long and complicated. It's amazing.
The organ in the background, all ominous.
Oh, so good.
The hair flick makes him look like A Muppet? I always thought I always call that his Muppet moment. Because he goes full Muppet or Fraggle Rock or something before he slams the door.
Yeah. It's so clear. I see it so clearly in my head, and it's so obviously the favorite moment. I don't know, like the saloon, but still, I have such reverence and respect for Tom Wilson, who I don't think gets the credit he deserves for the varying roles he plays in this trilogy. Like, he really sells it. And of course, Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox are amazing. As a character actor, Christopher Lloyd is maybe the best to do it that I can think of right now, for just like playing a lovable, wacky character with so many facets and so much range.
We talk a lot about how certain performances are defining and we associate certain actors with those performances alone. Like you're always saying, for me, Ariana Grande is Wicked or whatever. That was a bad example. But I rewatched Addams Family recently, and Christopher Lloyd is great in that. So good. And he's amazing in Nobody.
Yep.
I'm sure there are way more Christopher Lloyd performances that I'm just not immediately familiar with, but I feel like he's great in everything.
Yep. Roger Rabbit, Cuckoo's Nest, Taxi even. And so many people from the trilogy make another appearance, not Biff's gang. Of course, he's got a totally different gang back in the day, but it's such a fitting conclusion for a really solid trilogy. And then we get the one-offs like Pat Buttram and Harry Carey Jr. and the other dude, who have been like the two guys in the balcony in the Muppets, who have been like the crap talkers in the saloon in like hundreds of Western movies and shows. And my favorite, Ya Boy, makes his appearance. Now, who could possibly be Ya Boy in Back to the Future 3?
Who's my boy? Who's my
Your
boy?
boy is one Bill McKinney.
From?
How fast can she go? Well, I had her up near 55 myself. And then later, when they jump on the train, is this a hold up?
Oh, that's the same conductor as the one that they interviewed?
Yeah,
is
you know
the same
why?
one that they
because it's
stuck
Bill
up?
McKinney.
Why do I like Bill McKinney?
Bill McKinney was Mountain Man, the Mountain Man from Deliverance.
No. Wait, which Mountain Man?
Blows my mind every time I see that dude do anything other than Deliverance. Them panties, take them off.
No.
Yep.
I just blew and peeked the microphone. What? Ew. What? And, I guess it's a compliment to his acting abilities because, I just thought he was that guy. Like, I thought he was one of the Appalachians that they plucked from obscurity. Is that not the case? Did they pluck him from obscurity and then he became like a bona fide actor?
I don't know about that, but he's been in actually quite a few movies.
That is I feel like this is some kind of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon wild card that you can pull on. This is like up there.
Oh, God.
I was just going to say that there's nothing gross about Back to the Future 3. Like there kind of is in Back to the Future 2, but now it's tainted.
He has poop in his mouth.
Ew, what? Who?
Biff. Sorry, Mad Dog, Buford.
Oh, you mean manure.
Yeah.
So by the time we get to Back to the Future 3, Marty has already seen and hopefully corrected the life that he lived in the future, at least part of it. But then he completes the job in 3, right? Because he avoids the accident at the end?
Right, correct.
So in a way, 3 is the conclusion of 2.
Correct, at least in terms of storylines, because his parents aren't the focus. His family isn't the focus. He did his job, and the only difference is that he always had intended, well, I don't think Doc intended to destroy the time machine in 1 so much. Just like Marty and the chicken thing, where he can't tolerate being called a name.
Yeah, is not introduced in 1.
Only exists in 2 and 3. So it wraps up its own little thing. But this is just a rescue Doc mission to avoid him being shot over a matter of $80.
Is there no other objective?
Honestly, Back to the Future 3, as fun as it is, and such an amazing time I have watching it every time, multiple times, a little bit light on the stakes. When the Buford Tannen issue is resolved, which they could have just, they were hiding out. They weren't at Doc's lab or his barn or whatever, blacksmith shop. They were sleeping out to avoid that whole thing. And then Doc goes and gets not drunk at all, kind of drunk, at the saloon, forcing them to go into town. But the plan was just to get out of there, just to go back to the future, not disrupt the timeline, not see Buford Tannen, not complicate things with Clara, just get back and get it done so they can destroy that infernal time machine. And so after the Buford matter is resolved, he's like, the train, can we make it? And he's like, oh, we'll have to cut him off at Coyote Pass. And that's it. It's just, can we catch that train? Or now that Buford is arrested, can we catch any other train at any point this week? Let's check the timetable.
Coyote Pass, they introduced Coyote Pass in the scale model, the not to scale model.
They did?
Yeah. Because when they round...
That's the switch.
That's the switch, exactly. And he says that's Coyote Pass. And so they establish it there. And the model also important for not only the callback to that joke, but for the Clara arc.
Yeah, I guess the time machine could have stayed on the rails. They could have covered it or whatever, but it was there ready to go. But that was on the unused track, the uncompleted portion over the ravine. And so it could have stayed. If they'd missed a train, it wouldn't have been that big a deal, I suppose. So
whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
That's interesting.
It's a great point that the model actually serves a very specific and important function. It says time machine on it. It has the switch at Coyote Pass. It has the point of no return. She knows exactly where to intercept them.
It's so great, and the filmmakers make it look effortless, but I'm sure it was meticulously planned. But I meant it when I said that it's important for her arc, because as far as we know and kind of as far as I believe, when Clara comes to his barn, she's decided nothing other than that she loves him. And it might just be like, the fact that you're crazy doesn't matter, I still love you. But then it's the model and her picking up and holding the time machine in her hands where I feel like it clicks, and she, not only does she love him, but she believes him.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that she's not a little bit nuts. Like, did she not go so that she can tell him before he does something drastic in his perceived dangerous time experiment? Like, is she convinced at that point that the model represents an actual working time machine? Like, when she gets on the train, is she like, I'm going to have to go back in time? Or is she going to be like, well, he's on a speeding train that he just held up. I guess I better see what this is all about and maybe stop him?
No, I think that she believes him. I mean, he says to her in all seriousness, which I can't even say in a straight face, like, I am from the future. And what does he say? Tell me what he says to her.
Yeah, he says, I'm from the future. I came here in a time machine that I invented, and tomorrow I have to go back to the year 1985. Yes, Emmett, I do understand. I understand it because you know I'm partial to the writings of Jules Verne. You can conjure these mendacities in order to take advantage of me. Oh, I've heard some whoppers in my day, but the fact that you'd expect me to entertain a notion like that is so insulting and degrading. All you had to say was, I don't love you and I don't want to see you anymore. That at least would have been respectful.
Well, you super lapsed into the accent as you went along.
Oh, man.
And that's very impressive. He says that with the utmost earnestness, so much so that it makes me like, it's cringy. You know, I'm pulling the covers up over my face like, oh my God, it's so heartfelt. It's so earnest.
Yeah, and he stays
he really
there.
believes. And he believes that she's going to believe him because he's calling her bluff.
He was saying goodbye and he wasn't trying to convince her. And she slams the door and he's like, but that's not the truth. The only thing that mattered, and especially for a scientist, is in the face of her giving him an ultimatum, he does say the right thing. He says the truth. And she's not in a place at that time to hear it.
Right. So if she decides that she believes him, why wouldn't she decide that she believes the whole truth?
Sure. I'd love to take that leap. So Mary Steenburgen, not sure which, appears on the poster, looking over Doc's shoulder. She is a central part of Back to the Future 3, an indispensable part, and a part that I love. In your journey in the Back to the Future 3 world, did you ever encounter hate for Clara Clayton?
Hate?
She's the shrill Indiana Jones damsel or whatever. I mean, she's not.
No.
Clara is not a damsel. She's aggressive. She bones out on that horse going after him, all purple petticoats, and her hat flies off, and she is booking in a way that they can barely do to catch onto the train. She grasps the train. She's hanging on for dear life like a windsock. When the train, she gets blown
when it goes
off
from
her feet.
2 to 3 or 1 to 2.
On the Tinder car, she gets blown off her feet and she's like, golly, climbs into the speeding locomotive and then is willing to climb outside of it at his urging. And so I assume she has to believe. But people are annoyed by her. And I wonder if that's part of the reason that 3 doesn't resonate like it does for 2, where we got rid of Jennifer almost immediately, and then it's just him and Doc and doing their thing against the bad guys and doubling back and hanging out with their alternate selves or being in proximity to them. But Clara is very important to 3. I love her as a character. I like that she gets really assertive and aggressive, and her arc therefore is believable when she questions her own belief system in terms of whether or not to trust a dude who says he loves her after less than a week, She seems really powerful to me, as much as she was the please help me screaming damsel in distress. I kind of believe that she was taken aback by the fact that her horse got spooked and the wagon was running away. But if those dudes hadn't been on hand to save her, I'm pretty sure she seems so capable. She would have leaped onto the back of the horses and stopped them in exactly the way that Doc did.
I mean, really important to her character, because you need somebody for it to be believable and for this love story to resonate. You need to know that the character, his love interest, can hang. Not only scientifically and like imaginatively can she hang, but she can hang for the adventure. And she's hampered by her context and the petticoats and stuff, but she's not riding side saddle.
Nope.
I'd like to hear from the Clara haters, because I can't find fault in her character. I don't find her irksome or like a hanger-on or even dead weight, right? I mean, she proves herself as someone who can hang with her love, that she's not worthy of it, but that she's met her match and she's not going to let him go. I thought, though, when you were going through the sequence of events, with the 3 Duraflame logs, that you were leading up to the hoverboard finale, which I have to say is probably the weakest part of Back to the Future 3.
Take it easy. Wait, which part specifically?
It's just bad CGI. He's kind of holding her awkwardly in a way that, their center of gravity, I don't think is like right for him to just kind of float off into the sunset. I don't know. I don't buy it, dude.
Are we going to fight? Is that what this is going to be?
Bring it.
Are we going to fight about the best train chase adventure sequence to cap a movie in all of moviedom? The train pushing the DeLorean with their Presto logs, where the wood is treated with anthracite dust to make it burn hotter and longer. To get it up to 88, they know that the locomotive is doomed. The whole boiler explodes before they get up to 88. She's hanging on by that well-made dress, and the stitches are holding when she's hanging upside down. It's the best sequence ever. It takes so much. Maybe a little bit of suspension of disbelief, but it takes 2 movies to get us to the place where we have to reach a certain unapproachable speed in 1885, that the hoverboard would be the saving factor, that he would put himself so much at risk, not only to get Marty back, but to go back to get Clara, that he said goodbye to her and that he's going to have to bring her into the future because she loves him and will follow him quite literally anywhere. The best, most gut-wrenching, suspenseful, colorful, frantic, panic-inducing. How could they possibly beat the culmination of Back to the Future 1? Running out of gas, behind the gun on the timer when the alarm clock goes off, punching it and racing down the road toward the thing where Doc is trying to connect the light. Oh my! And the cable, and he slides down the thing.
Zip line.
Oh, amazing! How could you possibly top
electrocuted?
That with the great train robbery and the incredible action sequence? Absolutely gorgeous.
That ends with the most implausible thing, which is saying a lot when you're talking about a time travel movie, where Marty pitches the hoverboard outside of the gullwing door of the DeLorean, and it catches on Doc's outturned foot.
It's amazing.
He scoops up Clara. He scoops her up. And why did they fly up and out? Look,
the fault of this is not, okay, it is CG, but also the fault is how badly how wonky on camera the hoverboard reads. And I'm going to chalk that up to being a failing of part 2. And setting up the hoverboard and the plausibility of that whole thing. And we have these milestones, you have the point of no return. You're like, oh my God, now she's in and they cannot stop this runaway train. You have their color-coded markers on the gauge showing when those things are going to blow up. Each explosion is timed so that they're right in the middle of this perilous operation of her trying to grab onto the thing and him trying to to rescue her and stuff. Oh, so good. Come at me, bro.
See, it's weird that you're saying that 3 is stakes light, because basically the train sequence is all about the stakes of, if we don't pull this off, Marty and Doc are stuck in 1885 forever.
Yeah.
Does it retroactively hurt the movie that Doc creates another time machine out of a locomotive, appears in 1985, suggesting that had Marty stayed, that eventually Doc would have reinvented the time machine using parts from 1885.
See, if we're going to get into the semantics and the schematics of how the time machine works, how many time machines there are in any given situation, the time machine got destroyed. How could he have gotten did he pull the flux? Anyway, all that stuff I think is better left for the discussion of 2, because the constraints of the train were such that they had to do a certain thing. And once they go past that windmill, it's the future or bust, and they are all going to die. And their time machine is going to be destroyed anyway. Yes, it was stakes, but really they weren't in danger of death until they set the plan in motion by their own hand. Once Buford is dispatched, you're like, okay, well, I guess they can go and do that thing without any real stakes, is kind of what I felt. But so glorious is the setup and execution of that sustained action sequence that I think it trumps any concerns that I had. I was so on board, if you will. It thrills me to no end 35 years and most of my life later. I don't know, man. I don't know how anybody could not be thrilled by the ending of Back. It's the most stand up and cheer thing I can think of. What grander moment is there, so that when they fly off into the sunset in a horribly rendered CG shot, I mean, it's awkward in real life having to carry another person and balance on the hoverboard, which to my knowledge, Doc has never been anywhere near a skateboard, let alone a hoverboard. And for them to have survived that, for him to have caught the thing on his foot, you can see when it hooks on his foot, even he's surprised. And he's like, oh, and he turns the thing, navigates it. I can't defend the physics of that thing or how do you make it look real? I just know that they were so hosed. And you cling to the things. You cling to the life preservers in the stormy sea of plausibility. And this one is just foolproof to me.
So you're completely along for the ride. And even if I had my doubts at the very end of that sequence, I think they're all erased in the very touching reunion back in 1885.
It's erased.
Where Jennifer gets her questions. What?
It's erased.
Yes, Jennifer gets her questions answered. Marty and Doc have a real genuine conclusion, I guess, to their adventure, even though it's still open-ended. I mean, Doc and his family could pop into Marty's life virtually any time, but they both have to go on and live their lives. And then they give this broad sweeping morality moment where Doc brings every single viewer into this experience, inspiring them to write their own story. I get emotional even just talking about it. Like, they pull off one of the most emotional moments after one of the most exhilarating action sequences.
Yeah. I mean, you can see that Doc has lived his life. He's gone on his own adventures with the entire family. He's boned at least twice. Marty has to go without Doc for a day? It looks like 7 years since Doc saw Marty. He had to probably go and strip the DeLorean out of the Delgado mine, somehow power the flux capacitor by steam, I guess, then take it to the future. Oh, nope, already been there, and got a hover conversion done on the locomotive. I don't know. All I know is he does the thing and he gives the speech. Make it a good one, both of you, before taking off again. And yeah, he could be like, I'm going to drop in next week. But for the purposes of the movie, this has to be the grand send-off, as though I will never see you again. Here's a picture to remember me by. Partners in time.
And you say that part 1 is your favorite?
Yep. Kelly and I went up to Oxnard and scouted the location. We went to that intersection, that railroad crossing, which still exists, is still an active railroad crossing. We went to Eastwood Ravine, even though there's no ravine there. There was a group of bird watchers on site. Somebody on the internet, when I was looking up where this location was, went to the site and nosed around and found a triangular shard of one of the tail lights of the destroyed DeLorean.
It's like finding an old Native American indigenous First Peoples arrowhead or something.
Right, but I mean 1990 for this movie, at least when it was released or whatever, and I don't think that it's like 20 to like 35 years later, but I think like 15 years ago, some dude went and found a piece of the DeLorean wreckage. And I went there and did my nerdy thing or whatever, and people were like, Back to the Future, and I was like, yeah. This is a big
The
year.
bird watchers? Wait. The ornithologists were judging you?
Ornithologists, yeah, dude. 1990 to 2025, 35 years and 40th anniversary of Back to the Future. This is the big year. The Back to the Future gathering at Puente Hills Mall, which is Lone Pine, Twin Pines Mall, bought by developers, gonna be destroyed imminently, but probably not before the 40th anniversary celebration. October 25th, the 40th anniversary. I'm going to go there. We've seen the Back to the Future 3 set, been to Universal, Fan Fest. It's going to be great.
And the hordes of Or Whatever Movie fans are going to be right there with you, especially after this episode on Back to the Future.
What do you got? You got nothing. You can't talk bad about this movie. I know all the trivia. I cannot count the number of times I've seen this movie, know it back to forward. Anything? Got nothing.
If you got something, you got to get it in now because I'm wrapping it up.
Nope.
Meet Wes at the Twin Pines Mall. My pine?
Wait, you're not going to be there?
Oh, are you inviting me?
Sure.
Wes's favorite trilogy of all time. We hope you enjoyed this discussion on Back to the Future 3. Thank you for listening. orwhatevermovies at gmail.com, 818-835-0473. And make it a good one.
Electricast.